AM 650, KGAB Radio. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It's officially a Friday, 7 o'clock hour, and then sitting in the studio with me. There is a third-party candidate running for governor of the state of Wyoming. That is Rammell, who's sitting across from me. Now, while I'm asking him questions, if you guys have any questions, phone number to get involved, 632-6500, or outside Wyoming, 888-503-6500. If you're outside from Wyoming, you better be from Wyoming. Now, I don't really care about your question over there. So, okay, let's back up just a little bit for those, because I've heard you speak, but I thought when I heard you speak at the time you were a Republican. What happened?
I announced January 3rd that I was going to run on the Republican ticket.
Yeah.
I ran 2 years ago against Liz Cheney and the group, but my real interest has always been in the governor's race. I really didn't consult anybody at the time because I was so determined to try that I went ahead and announced, only to find out that a lot of the people that were supporting me were supporting either Harriet Hageman or Taylor Haynes. And so at a Republican meeting, I was consulting with a couple of my friends who were also in high leadership positions. And the highest ranking guy, and I'm not saying he's the highest ranking in the party,
But in the room at the time.
In the room at the time, he suggested that I run on the Constitution Party ticket so I didn't split votes and hand it to Gordon. And then if Gordon won, I'd be sitting there to stand for the conservative movement.
Right.
And so I approached the Constitution Party, and they were excited to have me as their gubernatorial nominee. And the rest is history. I switched over to the Constitution Party, and as predicted, the conservatives split the votes, Democrats have influenced the election, and Mark Gordon is the Republican nominee. But I'm sitting here to steal his thunder on November 6th.
Okay, so you have a pretty good opportunity as far as if we just run the numbers. If 67% of the people who voted on the Republican ticket did not vote for Gordon, that means you got some pretty good numbers to draw from. But you also have a lot of ground to cover between now and November, and I mean a lot of ground. And some people would even realize some of these questions are not mine; it's what other people are saying. Boy, that's going to take a lot of money to do something like that. How do you plan to make up that deficit?
I actually believe that a lot of the groundwork has been done for me through Harriet's campaign, Taylor's campaign, Freese's campaign, and maybe even Galliota's to a certain extent. There's been a lot of money thrown around. Mark Gordon has certainly been damaged by news of his affiliation with extreme environmental groups and the Democrat Party. I don't really know that I need to spend a lot of money doing that. I just need to get my message out, which I can do.
There's name recognition, and then there's messaging, which you have to get out in a very short period of time.
And I think we can do it. I'm going to have some help from those other campaigns and their structure. But I think it's on its way. That's
an interesting question. So do you think some of the other campaigns, when I heard you speak, you said that you would vote for Taylor Haynes.
Yeah.
So would Taylor Haynes then? Is he willing? Do you think to get behind you and a Harriet Hageman and people like that?
Taylor already is behind me, 100%. And in fact, I sent him a condolence message Wednesday night. Told him I really respected him, and I think he's well respected through Wyoming. They may not have voted for him in the numbers that he wanted, but he's well respected, and no one will argue that he doesn't know his stuff. But Taylor, if I were the governor, Taylor would be one of my senior advisors.
Okay, so
he's on board for sure. Harriet, not talked to Harriet, but a lot of Harriet's people were in on me moving to the Constitution Party, and they said if Harriet lost that election, they would support me.
Okay.
And they're starting to come out of the woodwork to support me. I'm hoping that Harriet will support me. She's a strong conservative woman, and I can't imagine that her and her people would support Gordon.
Well, I would say then, yeah, I hate, to me, endorsements mean nothing. I'll make up my own mind. But to some people, endorsements do mean something. So I guess what would the first thing to do is go off and get those official endorsements?
Yeah. That's I've already reached out. It's still early. It's painful to lose an election when you work that hard. I know that personally, and so. But we'll see if they come around. Some of Freeze's people are already on board with me. And like I said, Harriet's people, some of them are already on board with. They were before the election. It was all based on if Gordon won. Yeah. And I was going to back out if anybody won except for Gordon.
Okay. So he was a Republican that moved to the Constitution Party ticket. He's sitting in front of me right now. Guest is Rex Rammell. He's running for governor of the state of Wyoming. Okay, so let's say this all pans out and you become governor of the state of Wyoming. First order of business is what? We're
going to escort the federal government off the public lands.
Okay, how so?
Simple, with an executive order in the Constitution. I do not think they have constitutional authority to claim ownership, and I don't think they have constitutional authority to even manage it. And so we will deny them jurisdiction and professionally escort them off and take over the public lands. It'll be that simple. The Wyoming Constitution gives authority to the state to be sovereign over all of its land, and that's exactly what I intend to do. Second order of business would be and this will already be done, but before I was sworn in, we would have legislation proposed and written in bill form to start a Wyoming bank after the model of North Dakota. Wyoming has approximately $20 billion that it invests in Wall Street, and I think that is risky and unwise. It's moving in our direction right now, but even Bridgewater, the largest hedge fund manager in the world, said stocks are overvalued and we're due for a correction. So Mark touts how much money he's been making for the state through investments, minus the $90 million that he spent giving them commissions. But I think that money would be much more effective if it stayed in Wyoming as business loans to new businesses, existing businesses, just like North Dakota does. We get a safe return for the people of Wyoming, and the businesses start to go off like fire. It would be the biggest economic stimulus Wyoming could have, bar none, and that would diversify the economy in its own right. It's a simple thing to do. We could have it done by February.
So Rex Rammell is my guest, and he's running, again, was a Republican, but is now on the Constitution Party ticket, and he's running for governor of the state of Wyoming. If you have any questions, 632-6500 is the phone number. That's 632-6500. More in a moment.
If you think there's nothing to do in Cheyenne, think again. Here's what's happening in the capital city, brought to you by Visit Cheyenne. Friday nights on the Plaza continue with the free concert downtown every weekend. The Farmers Market kicks off every Saturday. Alf's Pub presents the Outdoor Jamboree. Don't miss Edge Fest with Bishop Briggs and Wilderness, and the Cheyenne Spirit Spree with a haunted happy hour and paranormal investigations. For a full list of local events, check out cheyenne.org/events.
Visit Cheyenne is your connection for local events and attractions. As the local tourism organization, we keep track of all the great things to do in Laramie County, from tours into a bison herd to hiking at Vidavoo to great concerts at the Civic Center. For even more festivals, events, and things to do, go to cheyenne.org or follow Visit Cheyenne on Facebook or Instagram. Visit Cheyenne, your connection for Laramie County events and attractions.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. Dakota makes it easy to create your own custom storage space. Pick up 23¼ by 8-foot Dakota bullnose shelving. Available in white or wheat oak. Just $17.79 after sale price and 11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through August 25th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards. Hi, this is John Black, the Executive Director of the Beast Foundation, where we bring enrichment and sports together. I'd like to invite you to the grand opening of our new facility in Cheyenne on August 30th. This exciting event will feature dinner with the UW Hall of Fame basketball and football teams. For tickets, visit beastfoundation.org.
The redesigned 2018 Ford Expedition is exceeding all expectations. Power, comfort, tech, Laramie Peak Motors in Wheatland is ready to get you in the driver's seat. With the new 10-speed transmission, it's best in class in towing for SUVs. Storage capabilities have never been better, and the Wi-Fi hotspot keeps everyone happy. As far as what the experts say, Motor Trend says Expedition is now the class leader. Kelly Blue Book says there's simply no comparison. So what do you have to say? Come test drive one today. Check out our Expedition inventory at LaramiePeakMotors.com.
Look at Bob over there eating his chelated mineral, acting all high and mighty. Who does he think he is? I mean, I want to be healthy. I want to conceive. I just don't understand why our owner doesn't go to Wilson Feed. They've got the best grub, the best prices. Heck, they even deliver for free, I heard.
Herd? Cattle herd.
Oh, geez.
Starting September 1st, buy 9 bags of mineral and get one free at Wilson Feed. Go to wilsonfeedllc.com today.
Cheyenne's #1 News Talk Radio, AM 650, KGAB.
7:17's the time. It's AM 650 KGAB Radio. My name is Glenn Wood. Sitting in the studio with me is Rex Rammell, who was a Republican, now is on the Constitution Party ticket. He's running for governor of the state of Wyoming. Your phone calls are welcome. Grab your headphones over there because you got one on the line right now. If you have a question, 632-6500. This is Glenn, who's on the phone with us.
Hey, Glenn. This is Tom at Laramie.
Yes, sir.
I was glad to hear Rex just talked about a Bank of Wyoming. About 30 years ago, some guys in Casper tried to start one, and they're going to have gold and silver as this basis. I think Russ Donnelly was one of them. If Rex ever wanted to contact him, he could start there for some ideas on it. But that would be a real good move in the right direction.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. I think it's a no-brainer. It's a nonpartisan issue. Everybody ought to be able to get on board, and we'd jumpstart this economy and get it rolling. I thought the simple thing to do would just be to go to North Dakota and ask them for their legislation and their model. They've been doing it for 100 years. I'm sure they've got most of the kinks worked out. I think we could have that thing drafted and ready to go in a week.
All right, now you wanted me to ask you about, which is something that gets kicked around a little bit, even hinted by Governor Meade just recently. So state income tax, because some people, I even take a look at our current tax structure and I think, well, we are heavily reliant on oil, gas, coal. It would be nice to diversify our tax structure so the next time a bust happens, and it will, we don't take such a dive. But I still don't see an income tax in our future. What do you think?
Everybody that votes for Mark Gordon or Mary Throne, they better get ready for it. Neither one of them pledged to not do it. And they're both, in my mind, they're both Democrats. And they will grow. They would rather raise a tax and support the growth of government than to limit the growth of government and not have an income tax. Now, people will say, how would I balance the budget if I pledge not to have an income tax? And it's pretty simple. There's a lot of money above and below the ground in this state. We just need to access it. The federal government has been taking $1 billion in federal mineral royalties and lease bonuses from the state. That money would be ours if we take over management of the 30 million acres. That goes a long ways to paying our bills. We don't need an income tax. And I pledge to the people of the state of Wyoming that if Rammell is the next governor, there will be no income tax.
Rick Rammell's my guest. He's on the Constitution Party. Now, if you have any questions, 632-6500 is the phone number. Back to the phones we go. This is Glenn. Who's on with us?
This is Chuck.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just 3 quick questions, please. What do you think about the Second Amendment, Common Core, and the Endow program? Thank you.
The Second Amendment, I've been a hunter all of my life, and I actually believe that registration of guns is illegal. The Second Amendment does not have contingencies on it. We have the right to bear arms, defend ourselves, and I am the biggest proponent of the Second Amendment that there is. It is the way that we protect our other rights. And as governor, I will be the strongest supporter of the Second Amendment. I'm against Common Core. I'm against the federal government interfering with our education at all. I'm a states' rights hawk, and most of these things that the federal government's doing right now, they're just interfering with our economy and our people. So a Common Core, we would not recognize it. We don't need it. We can't. If we take over the public lands and the money that comes with it, there's plenty of money in there to provide for our education system. And what was the last question?
Had to do with Endow.
Endow, and I do not support Endow. I think it's a waste of money. My Bank of Wyoming idea is a much easier and better way to stimulate the economy than throwing money out there and hoping somebody comes up with a good idea. The state bank is a winner, and I will push that so hard we will get it through.
All right, back to the phones I go. This is Glenn. Who's on with us?
Good morning, Glenn. This is Steve. I've got a question real quick.
All right.
How would you feel about, or how would you vote as far as repealing the McGill Act of 1901, legalizing gambling, and at least giving the counties the option to voting for legalized gambling as a way of diversifying our economy? I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. You know, that's not an issue that I would push, but if the legislature approved it, which I would consider the will of the people, I would sign it.
Rex Rammell's my guest. He was a Republican on the Constitution Party ticket right now, running for governor of the state of Wyoming. Any questions? 632-6500 at 632-6500. A question that I got online here was about some of the transparency issues that we're having in the state of Wyoming, including, well, we have Cynthia Cloud's office right over here. Of course, she'll be out by the time you would be sworn in as governor.
Yeah.
But let's talk transparency for a moment. What are your thoughts?
Well, I want to do an entire audit of all of the departments and all of the money. I don't know how many people saw Foster Freeze's issue about the Natrona School District that had run up $10 million on their credit card. Expenses like $35,000 for a magician, $12,000 for flowers. I mean, those sort of things will have got to be exposed and eliminated. And Wyoming's got to. He was right. Wyoming's got to be more transparent, and I'll open it up. There's going to be a lot of changes if Rammell becomes the governor. It'll be a new state, and that's my promise from top to bottom. We're gonna overhaul this whole thing.
If you want to ask him a question, Rex is sitting by with his headphones. Back to the phones I go right now. This is Glenn. Who's on with us?
Good morning. Yeah, so kind of the first time I've heard of you, Rex, and all your platforms sound pretty good. I do have one question for you, though. Going into talking about giving the lands back to the state and state control, my only concern is, you know, we've had a lot of fires come on. And if we have a big fire, I mean, those aren't cheap. And we don't have endless supply of money to throw at these. And you know, I'm sure you're well aware, if you go into the mountains over here in Snowy Range, it's a tinderbox, and the whole thing's ready to go at any time. And it's that way all the way across the state. So how do we combat that if of all of those lands back?
All right, very good question, and thank you for asking. Remember that the federal government has been taking upwards of $1 billion off of through federal mineral royalties and lease bonuses, and I believe that there's a lot of money sitting there should we take over management. And as far as the forest fires go, you're exactly right. I'm a hunter. I've spent many days up in the mountains, and the whole state is a tinderbox. There's no